apologies for starting the program behind schedule. We apologize for that. We have in the studio with us a very prominent petroleum products marketer in Ogun State, Alhaji Surajuddin Bada is joining us this morning, and we want to look at the issue of a planned fuel subsidy removal. Good morning, Alhaji.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank God.
First and foremost, I'd like you to explain to us this subsidy. What is fuel subsidy in the first instance?
Of course, fuel subsidy as it relates to Nigeria has been just the amount the government pays as a buffer to make sure that the total cost of the product, is not borne by the public. That's just the basic interpretation of it. If the product is supposed to be, say, 200 naira per liter, for example, so it shows that the government is paying maybe about 35 naira per liter, to subsidize so that the public can buy at 165 naira. That's just the basic interpretation of it.
Of fuel subsidy?
Of fuel. As at today, yes.
As at today. Now, over the years, there have been calls for removal of that subsidy or otherwise. People have actually, joined those camps, two camps. Some people will say, let's remove subsidy. Some will say no. Now, we understand that the federal government is planning to remove it now, and a whole lot of a lot of interpretations have actually come to that. Some people are already saying that it will spell doom for the economy and a whole lot of like that. I mean, as someone who has been in this business for quite some time, do you think it's a right step by the federal government at this point in time?
Okay, let us look at it from where we are coming from. The removal of subsidy. It has always been the removal of this subsidy they call it, since Babangida regime. As at the time that I joined the petroleum industry around 1985 or thereabout, petrol was sold for 20 kobo per liter, which shows that a full truck of 30,000 liters was just 6,000 naira. As at that time, 85, 86, 87, before this second tier of a thing came in that time. And since then, it has been a gradual increment to the extent that what they have always been, the only reason the government has always been giving since then has always been that subsidy is being removed. Of course, from that 20 kobo, it went to 39 kobo, 42 kobo, gradually up to Abacha, up to Abubakar, up to Baba Obasanjo. During Baba Obasanjo's time, it was removed, the so-called subsidy was removed more than 10 times, up to Yaradua, which reduced to 65 naira per liter. Then later, to Jonathan, it increased, and we were there, 87 naira per liter, until Baba Buhari came, and we know where we are today. The excuse has always been removal of subsidy. And everybody is wondering why this subsidy has not been totally removed. How long will it take? Even now that even the government is saying, I think 2020, the COVID year, the thing came down somehow. The price of the product came down. And along the line, it went up again. And the government is still claiming we are paying. Of course, we know the landing cost. We know the international price of petrol. We know our challenges in Nigeria, which mainly is because we have not been able to produce, we have not been able to refine what we produce. We are one of the largest producers of crude oil. We are OPEC member. We are everything. But inability of the country to refine its usage. That's the problem.
Okay.
We have 4 refineries, two in Port Harcourt, one in Warri, the other one in Kaduna. Aside from the few modular refineries that are just coming up now, few and mostly private anyway, none by the government. and waiting for Dangote and the others to come up. But once we have not been able to produce, we rely, as of today, we rely solely on importation.
Okay, there are still some people saying that subsidy is not really real. The present administration, of course, the president before he became the president of the country was also one of those that said, "What is subsidy?" And you're a major player in the industry, so maybe you will try to also tell us whether it is true that subsidy exists.
I will not say subsidy does not exist. I am in a position to tell the public because we import the product into the country. Like I said, mainly we rely mainly on importation now. And by the time you look at the price, that is the price at the international price, at the international market, and the cost of origin, of bringing the product to the country, the cost of discharge, a lot of security organizations, agencies that are involved that will take one naira here, 2 naira there, some in dollars, in dollar rates that they will take. So many agencies that cannot be mentioned. There are so many that they are along the line. By the time you add all this together and you are having the landing cost, of course, it is definitely more than the regulated price of 165 naira per litre. That is the truth. And the government has come. Of course, as of today, the landing cost is a little bit above 200 naira per litre, 200 naira per litre. By the time you put in everything, of course, the government is subsidizing.
Okay.
But the management of subsidy is another thing entirely.
Okay.
You and I were in Nigeria when a probe panel was set up by the National Assembly, but along the line, that panel revealed so many things. So many things. We saw people that did not, bring in any product, and they were collecting subsidy. I remember the former governor of Central Bank, His Royal Highness Chanusi, mentioned it, that in a day, 17 papers were brought to him. You and I know that the jetty that we have cannot take more than one vessel at a time. And sometimes it takes days to discharge even a big vessel. We used to have this 30,000 metric tons vessel, the mother vessel that will stay at the IC. Then they will be coming with badges to discharge. But if now somebody is saying in a single day, 17 papers were brought to him, that 17 vessels have discharged on a particular day because the papers bore the same dates. And all the necessary checklists, those that were supposed to have signed, to have taken responsibility for, the goods have come in, is for him to pay. Once all those people have already satisfied that the product is, but the panel revealed that most of these things were not brought into Nigeria.
So now,
so it is the mismanagement, the leakages that is happening.
So what you're saying in essence is that even if the president or the current administration is able to remove subsidy next year, as they have promised, there will still be bottleneck based on the analysis you've given us now that we're still going to be experiencing something different.
I think what Nigerians should be concerned about is the availability of the products. The availability of the products. Mind you, I've mentioned the refineries. The government too is not doing enough to ensure that the refineries are working. Of course, recently they contracted out the Port Harcourt refinery in billions of dollars to be rehabilitated and things like that. But we know that the cost of maintenance, during the turnaround maintenance of these refineries, the last refinery was commissioned by Shagari. Shagari left office 1983. That's about almost 40 years ago, and no other refinery has come up. Even the technology has moved away from that type of refinery. You go to where they are having modular refineries. If Dangote is going to produce 600,000, go and check what we have in Wari. Go and check what we have in Kaduna. It's as large as that, but they cannot produce maybe more than 200 and something. So you see that the technology has actually moved, but unfortunately, Nigeria has not moved with the technology in that particular sector, and it's already affecting us. So I won't say, because the question that we are paying subsidy is because of the common man, is because of this. The management of that subsidy has been called to question.
So it is better
it is removed.
Then we...
How it is done is another thing entirely.
Okay.
Because the technicalities and, the effect, the after effect is also there for the public. And we don't know how far the government has gone to see to the side effects. Of course, a lot of things if they actually, implement what they are promising to implement by February. Mind you, the PIA, that is the Petroleum Industry Act, that was signed in by the president in August, allowed 6 months that some of these things should take effect by 6 months. By February next year, it will be illegal for anybody to pay subsidy.
Okay.
And that is where the government is going. It is illegal by that act for the government to pay subsidy, to continue to pay subsidy. And that is why they are saying, yes, by February, we are trying, we will implement the law, because according to that law that is already signed, it will be legal. So they will remove the subsidy, and they were talking about this 5,000, is it 5,000? Palliative,
transport fare.
How they will do that, where they will get the database, who it will affect, because I'm also buying fuel anyway. You are buying. You are buying. I don't know whether 5,000 will be sent to me too. I'm not sure. So I don't know. I'm yet to know. The government has not actually come out with the basis of this. So these are the things we are looking at. That how will the government implement in such a way that it will not affect the people.
Clearly, the issue of fuel subsidy has been laced with what one could actually categorize in the class of massive corruption in this country over the years. Now, if the subsidy is removed in the long run, as federal government has threatened, what happens to production? What happens to availability of the products? And what happens to the plight of Nigerians?
For now, NNPC is the main importer of the products. Okay. And NNPC has become a limited liability company, a public limited liability company now, as against the corporation, a corporation that it was before. We expect that it should be run like any profit-making company. Okay. If I put up a company, my main reason of putting up is, yes, this company will serve the public, and it will give me some returns in profit, not in losses, And a lot of responsibilities that I have to put in place in such a way that I get the returns from such investment. I think that is the direction the PIA has gone, to ensure that NNPC and some other subsidiaries, they become limited liability. They are answerable, to the shareholders. This time around, government and some interest that, have a shareholding there. So, but as of today, because of so many factors, one of it, which is the foreign exchange, the availability of foreign exchange for individuals like me to import, and there are a lot of challenges now, because the availability of the foreign exchange is not there. The rate of the foreign exchange is very, very high. You and I know that. So everybody is now running, but the government is taking it up. And that is why they are saying they are paying so much money. The government does not want the country to run into scarcity, particularly we are entering December, which used to be, everybody will be afraid, will be panicked by now and say, December, there will be scarcity. But we give it to this government, at least in the last 2-3 years. We have been celebrating December without fuel crisis. How they manage it is another thing entirely. But we give it to them for that. But this area of making the product available at affordable price is another thing.
Okay.
And then in terms of making making it available at affordable price, isn't that the reason why subsidy was, introduced in the first instance?
Yes, that is the main reason.
That's my but of course the management
Now,
of
if it is removed now,
Yeah.
what it shows is that the public will be buying at a higher price. Now, the government is, has actually put a bait that it will go to 340, between 330 and 340. That's their language.
Now,
And that is more than double. That is more than 200%.
Let's look at the
We are at 165 now, and 340.
Let's look at the palliative the federal government is also putting on the table. 5,000 naira per head.
Not per head, though. They said categorically that it's going to belong to 30 to 40 million people
But if you
in Nigeria.
Now accumulate all of that too.
How you determine that is okay.
Exactly.
If you put all of that together, does it still not amount to the money that will have been spent or that should have been spent, that should have been used to subsidize the product?
Well, I think I'm aligning with the public, having seen the implication of the previous removal of subsidy has caused in Nigeria. As of today, even without removing subsidy or without still buying the product at 165, since COVID-19, which affected us from 2020, since then we know how the prices of goods and services have gone up.
Yeah.
Virtually everything. I cannot think of anything. Even pure water
Has gone up.
has gone up. Everything has gone up. Go to the market. Today's Monday. Ask that, what is the price today? Oh, okay, I will come Wednesday. I will come 2 days time to come and buy. By the time you go back,
Another price.
you will be meeting another, and it has been like that. Now, if this thing is removed, and this publicity, is there, is removed. Of course, it will be instantaneous reaction. At least I know of the Okada people, the transport owners, they will immediately, wherever they are taking for 100 naira now, they go to 200 naira.
200 naira, yeah.
And government has not provided alternative as of today. Maybe they are thinking about that tomorrow, but as of today, no alternative. So if I get to the roadside and the man say 200 naira instead of 100 naira, who am I? Unless I want to stay there or I want to take a trek.
Isn't it?
So definitely, government has to do something. Not like they are talking about this 5,000 of a thing. We have not known how they just mentioned it between 30 to 40 million individuals. They said for Nigerians, for poor Nigerians. I don't know who's not poor. I don't know. The problem is that the statistics has not. We are not data people. We don't have the database to determine some of these things. But government, in its wise decision, they take some decision, and I will believe they will have thought of it. The implication, because by the time you even multiply this 5,000 with these 40 million people, the figures the mathematicians, the economists are getting seems to be even higher than the subsidy we are
doing. Yes, according to what the minister was saying, she was saying that it will last for 6 months, just as a coping mechanism for the people, or a maximum of 1 year. They are still debating.
Now, within those 6 months, isn't it also wiser in the long run that the country faces the issue of our refineries not working? Because for me, in the long run, let's take away, all of these are just palliatives. 5,000 naira, that's just palliative. What about the refineries? Can they work? The modular refineries, can they be made
I've told you that, to me, the refineries that were opened almost 40 years, over 40 years, the technology you and I will know, this is one of them. What is one of the technology? Maybe 2-3 years ago, it was not like this. But now it's here. And people are moving with it on. You have to move with it. Modular refineries have been in place for more than 10 years. to my own knowledge, abroad. Modular, very few, just small space, and it's producing high quality, high quantity of products. But we are used to this 1 kilometer radius. So to me, the refineries have to work. The environment has to be made conducive for investors to come and,
Okay, talking about the investors and of course the refinery, a lot of persons have attributed why we are where we are to the fact that the old forces are still there. People that actually leave the shores of the country to go and build refineries outside, and that's why they have to continue with that process of getting subsidy, in one way or the other, meaning that they have refineries outside working for them at different countries in the world, and that's why they have to make sure we go outside. So with this subsidy removal, and of course if it is successful eventually, we need to actually force people to bring their investment into refinery, refining of crude in Nigeria. They bring their companies, they bring their money into the country to build more modular refineries, and of course a bigger one. And of course, what will Dangote refinery also do to this in the long run?
Yeah, two in one. First, people having investment outside the country, to me, is speculation. Nobody has owned up that he has one thing or the other over there, and that is why this thing is being done. Again, our own refineries, they are not working, and they have to, we have to make them work. For now, the government has actually paid out some dollars in millions to rehabilitate the Port Harcourt one for a beginner. That's good. And until that one comes up, there's nothing anybody can do. The beauty that the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, has brought is that it has given us laws that at least whoever is an investor that wants to come to Nigeria can, you now have the regulation, the regulation there. You have the guidelines that, okay, this is what I'm going to meet. Before the bill was passed, nothing. And that is what has been scaring investors away. Because you don't know the situation. A situation whereby if I have to produce this thing for 200 naira, and the regulation of the government, because petrol is highly regulated, and the regulation of the government says, no, you cannot sell more than 165. I'm an investor, a private investor, I will not invest in such a thing. Now the law is there, that I now know the guidelines that even the government cannot just say, no, we won't follow this law, we will follow it. No, the law is already there. And that is what we commend when the president signed that law, that bill into law. So we really thank God for that. Now the environment is there. And you can see, I can tell you of so many refineries that are already coming up already. Okay. In another 1-2 years, of course, 1 or 2 must have come up. Dangote, I as a person, I'm not relying on Dangote. Okay. Because it is a private initiative. It's a private investment. Dangote has been into cement production. He has been into sugar, salt. What has been the effect to the general public? The price has always been coming up. They became the one to determine what is sold to the public. If the government is saying something that does not, feed the man can choose to sell the product outside.
So do you have an idea?
So it's not as if it's producing the thing for Nigeria.
Okay, do you have an idea? One of the things that you also mentioned is the fact that foreign exchange, the cost of, changing into dollars before you can bring in stuff is also one of the reasons. So do you have an idea if he would be selling to Nigerians in Naira so that we wouldn't have to spend
The choice is for him to make. Okay. He's a rational businessman as far as I'm concerned. A businessman wants to make profit.
Can the government force him to do that? Because
that is one thing I cannot say.
Okay.
Until then, you will see how interrelates with government policy. But to me, if I have my product, when Nigeria was not doing well, the people like the organization like Michelin, Dunlop, and some of them, they moved elsewhere. As an individual, if I am the producer of this thing, though I'm aware government has bought into some aspect of Dangote, I'm well aware of that, maybe to be able to have this control so that Nigerians cannot lose. But as an investor who produces whatever, he decides where he sells his product. If Ghana, Ivory Coast, even all our neighbors, if they come up, we know some of them have no refinery. Republic of Benin beside us, they don't have anything. They just had one. I don't know much about Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, and so many other countries too that God has not given crude, to. They rely, and that is why we have all these illegal refineries and whatever. They scoop them to some. So Dangote has the right to say, okay, let me feed Nigeria. 600,000 metric tons is more than enough for us to rely on. But will it go to Nigeria 100%?
So this,
let's pray and presume that modular refineries will come into the country. We have more investments, in that sector, and there will be plenty. Will that actually, in the long run, take away this stranglehold of the business propensity of someone like Dangote on that sector? And then maybe we're also likely to get to a level where, we will experience what happened when the telecommunications industry was also privatized, deregulated. And
Nigeria has the biggest market around in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria has the advantage we have in Nigeria is that we have the market. And that's why everybody wants to, Nigeria is key, is a factor to whosoever is coming to Africa, because Nigeria is the market. Even MTN, all these, they don't make a quarter of what they are making in Nigeria in their own countries. In their own countries, they don't make a quarter of what they are making in Nigeria because Nigeria has the market. For refineries, more refineries to come, either modular or big ones, the market is still there.
Which one do you support? Modular, the big one?
No, we will support the big one. Modular is just because the technology has moved. Modular is just a small thing. We produce the one that was done, that is being done, that is as commercial operation around Enugu or thereabout. It's producing only for 13 trucks, about 2 or 3 million a day. So you still need, Nigeria has a big market. You can imagine the quantity of, the volume of what we are making use of in petrol. Today, the government is talking about 55, even they said in April, we made use of 55.79 million liters in a month. In a month. Some countries cannot even, South Africa, Ethiopia, some of these other countries, that even Angola, that we know, what is their consumption in a day? Maybe 15.
Talking about the consumption, the government have also said that they smuggle the products outside the country. So I want you to tell us the implication for smugglers, and of course you are a stakeholder. What is the need for you, for your people? Will it translate to more profit, or will it translate to more capital, more profit, or something? So maybe you should let us know.
No responsible organization will support smuggling in whatever form it takes. No responsible organization. Smuggling of any product, not even only petrol, rice, mention it. No responsible organization or association will support smuggling as it is. Of course, and that is the more reason why the government has its agencies like custom, like some others too, that they monitor the borders. Recently, the government has even come up to say 20 kilometers to the border, nobody should supply a petroleum product there. Of course, it's a punishment to, innocent citizens living within this radius. And it's not really palatable for people who have to come 20 kilometers, buy the products and go back, it's, but whatever the case may be, like I said, we don't support smuggling. But we know that it is happening. But an agency has a responsibility to curb such a thing. So I think they should live up to their responsibility.
Yes, I'm actually talking
Because
about...
we know when we even talk about this 55 million, 50 something
Exactly my point.
liters,
Yes.
we just look at ourselves. All these vehicles that we are using, Nigeria consumes, the Southwest consumes 60% of whatever petroleum product that is bought in. 60%, 40% is just for North and East. So, but even within our locality here, we know ourselves now.
Okay.
Can we consume so much? If not for these porous, borders that we have, some people will still risk and they still go headlong to do it. Not only in the Southwest, it happens everywhere. It happens in the North, it happens in the East. People smuggle to Cameroon, people smuggle to the Niger, to Republic of Benin, things like that. So I think the agency that is responsible for, keeping the borders safe and, according to government regulation, they should live up to their responsibility.
Well, I think it's been quite exciting having Alhaji Surajuddin Bada in the house this morning, and it's been quite revealing. I don't think I've ever really learned so much about fuel subsidy until this morning. I must thank you so much, Alhaji, personally, for for the lessons you have given us this morning on it, because you have actually broken it down in a very, very simple form for us to understand. Thank you so much. And we hope that things will get better. We'll wait for federal government, whether the decision is still going to go out with the removal of fuel subsidy or not. We'll wait, and maybe we'll have to bring you back not too far away from now, and come back here to analyze this same topic. Thank you so much for coming this morning. Okay, we'll take this break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the health sector, brain drain, the syndrome of brain drain in the health sector. We'll come back shortly. Stay with us.